I'm Mike Sullivan, and I'd like to talk today about one of my students who sent me a video, and he was really just perplexed about why he was having trouble hitting his driver. And what I'd like to do is just talk to you about what was going wrong with him and what it was causing him to do in his golf swing. How do you like this? This is my new Srixon hat. Clay, thank you very much for coming by. Clay with Srixon, Cleveland, brought us some golf balls and some hats, so thank you so much. All right, so let's talk about the topic of today's video, which is, it was an online lesson that I did with one of my students who I've worked with before. We'll say his name is Jim. We're going to call him Jim to protect the guilty because I have not talked to him about making this video. So anyway, so Jim sent me a video. Actually, he sent me a text message saying, boy, he's completely baffled. He doesn't know what's going on with his driver. He's hitting it all over the place. And so I took a look at what he was doing. It's interesting that the video he sent me didn't have like a perfect type of an angle, but what I could tell was a couple of things. Number one, the way he was holding the club, his left hand was on the club in a real open face position, okay? We call this a weak position. This is really common. If you look at my glove here, see how you don't really see much of the logo pointing back at you? So what happens is when you hold the club with your left hand on like this, it's very, very difficult to square the club face. As you get weight moving into your front foot, you're going to want that club face to hang open. That's why, in order to hit fairly straight shots, we want to rotate some amount that top hand over. I personally like to be able to look down and see 1, 2.5 knuckles on that lead wrist, on that lead hand, excuse me. Okay? Then our bottom hand is going to go on the club, rotated so that the palm is just matching up with the club face. The palm of my lower hand, my right hand, is pointing where I want the ball to go. Okay, so that's what I really like to see for a grip because it helps people be able to control the face a lot better. And again, Jim was way like that. So he's going to have a hard time squaring the face. The next thing that was happening, take a look here. Let's talk about the club face staying square relative to the arc that you're swinging on, right? So notice here, if I take my hand, if I just kind of let my arm hang down here and I move back like I'm going to smack my hand into something. See how you don't see my wrist rotate this way, right? It just kind of stays pretty steady here, right? So as I'm doing this, my face is open relative to the target now, right? So my face is pointing out there to the right, but it's square relative to my arc, okay? And if I was to stand up here and do this, and I turn back here, see how my face or my hand is matching the angle of my spine. See that? So I've done this before. So if I were to stand up here as if I was going to hit a ball off like a baseball tee and turn, my face is open to the target. It's pointing way out to the right of the target. It's square though to my arc and it's square to my spine. If I was going to hit a ball, I'd bend this way. Make sense? Okay, so here's what was happening with Jim. Weak grip to begin with, and then the club coming back, and when we get to the top of his backswing, the toe of his club is pointing straight down. So I'll just give you a little news here. Your club face at the top of your backswing is square when the face angle matches the angle of your lead forearm. Okay, hopefully that's pretty much the angle of my lead forearm. He was like this. All right, now there is a product, a training aid that we work with a lot called Hack Motion that is great for helping people with this. I'll put a link on here somewhere so you can go ahead and pick one up. I think they're about $400 or so. Very good device because it measures the angle, how much cupping you have versus how flat it is versus if it's bowed right here, your lead wrist. It's really good at that. By the way, we call that extension, we call that flexion. Without that device though, it was pretty easy to see on video, and this is a video not even taken from a great camera angle. I could see that he was just like that at the top. Okay, and so now his face is wide open relative to the arc he's swinging on. So when he went to hit the ball, instead of him hitting a ball where he's moving weight onto his front foot to help him hit the ball, well, that wasn't very straight, but you get the idea, to help him hit the ball with a square club face, okay? What he was doing wide open, and he's hanging back through impact, trying to figure out a way to square that club face. And it was really getting him with his driver a lot more than the other clubs. Any idea why it was bothering him with the driver? It's bothering him mostly with the driver because the driver, number one, is just long and hardest to control. But also, if your face is just a little bit open or a little bit closed with your driver, the spin axis of the ball is going to tilt a lot. Okay, so the amount of spin axis tilt you get with a golf club has a lot to do with the loft on the club. So, do we have spin axis up there in that thing? Yeah, so like right there, my face was open 5 degrees to the path, but my spin axis was tilted 22 degrees. All right, if I would have had a sand wedge or a pitching wedge in my hand, you would not have seen the ball hardly curve at all. Because if your face is a little open or a little closed, you're going to slice or hook the ball a lot. So he was having trouble not just slicing, I believe also with hooking, because he was taking that open club face and really trying to work it square, and he was sometimes square, sometimes open, and sometimes closed. Okay? So how do we work on this? What I would recommend would be, one, do it with an iron. Okay? So I've got a pitching wedge here. Okay? And I've got this stick here really to help show you what is parallel to where I'm aiming. I'm going to work on taking the club back, and I want this club face to be pointing somewhat towards the ground. So this is the position I probably play from. A lot of people would say, hey, you need to have the club pointed about like this, because that's square to my spine, or it's parallel to my spine, same angle as my spine. The bottom line is you want to be able to be here or here. We don't want this sort of a thing. That is a wide open club face. Okay? When we do this, we want to make sure we're turning our shoulders too. See how my chest is pointing out here towards my club? That's what we want. So get good at that. And here's what's going to happen the first time you go to hit a ball. Okay? So you have to really practice this, because if this is an issue that you're having, it's probably been ingrained. So if you can set up a camera to look at yourself, that'd be great. If you can't set up a camera, then just practice like this. Right here. Parallel to the ground while it's parallel to the target line of your shaft. I'm actually exaggerating a little bit. The club head's a little bit outside where perfect would be. That might be parallel right there. Take it back, look at it the whole way. Look at your ball and then hit it. All right, I didn't get enough speed there to generate anything, but practice hitting some shots from a position where your face is square or a little bit closed. Once you're pretty good at doing it here, bam, then go ahead, get it there, look at your ball, shift back, shift through, and hit one. This is going to feel a little bit easier. Here, shift, shift. Okay. Incidentally, remember before we saw that driver was like 5 degrees open, but the spin axis tilted like 21 degrees? This is a pitching wedge. It was 3 degrees, it was closed, 3 degrees closed. My spin axis only tilted 5.6. Okay, so you're going to hit these lofted clubs a whole lot straighter than a club that's not lofted. Try that again. Look, shift, shift. Okay, so that club face at impact was 0.7 closed. So that is more what we're looking for. Okay, now once, and Jim, if you're watching this, once you start to get pretty good at being here and then being square more up there, well, you still have the habits of how you've been swinging, right? So it's going to take some practice. So I would really recommend, number one, make sure your grip is where it needs to be. Number two, make sure you're getting started with that club face square, right? And then you commit to that and you practice. And if you practice a lot with a shorter club, you're going to get better. You're going to make changes to your swing in a positive way a lot faster practicing with a short club than if you practice with a long club. All right? So if your club face is not square throughout your swing, you're going to be making all kinds of compensations to try to be able to hit the ball towards the target, and they're not going to be efficient. All right? So get your grip in order, take it back square. I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.